Good evening, everybody. Welcome in to Overtime. It is the basketball version. I'm Corey Miller, the pastor of Payne. I'm joined by lead captain, Kerry Rich, former guard for the Gamecocks, and of course was a radio all-star. Now he's doing TV and radio, doing a lot of stuff here in the Midlands. Captain, it's our first kickoff show. Good to see you once again. Of course, I must say, with it being South Carolina and Clemson rivalry week, you kind of wearing the orange color. Just saying.
It's burnt orange. It's not Clemson orange.
So you saying that's like Texas color?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, orange. I mean, because folks here are gonna think that's orange, regardless burnt orange, bright orange, whatever color orange. They're gonna say orange, Clemson orange.
Well, I think they'll say it now because you made an issue out of it. But
of course.
I'm so happy to be here with you talking high school basketball, and we get to shine the bright light, the spotlight on high school basketball, the teams, the players, the coaches, and finally we get to talk about your high school career. For 25 years, you've been telling me what a great high school basketball player you were.
Yes.
What was your career high? 13, 14 points?
No, that would probably be assist if that, 13, 14. Try 26 and 15. It's in the archives. Go down into Richland Library, Richland County Library.
Did you average that?
I did 26 and 15.
Oh, wow.
My senior. Of course, 2A basketball, say what you want, but I had some success. You see my game. I don't need to tell you that as of late. All right, speaking of high school basketball, right here in the Midlands, Captain, a lot of really, really good basketball teams here in the Midlands and a ton of great basketball players, because we're going to get to that. I know there's been a lot of conversations going back and forth with you, who's the best in the Midlands. We'll get to that in just a minute. I know you don't want to miss that. Right. But let's just talk about some of the teams. For about 2 or 3 weeks, we've had an opportunity to see a lot of these teams play some basketball. Just your thoughts on that.
The one word that comes to mind right now is parity. You expect Irmo to be good. You expect Keenan to be good. You expect some of the other teams to be good. But now you're forced to talk about a drill. You're forced to talk about a White Knoll. You're forced to talk about some of the other programs that are now in the Midlands. And a lot of that has been generated because of the wonderful individual basketball players we have in the Midlands. We've heard about the P.J. Doziers, the Seven Woods, the Tevin Max, the Marius Logans, so many other local kids that are so good. They've generated so much excitement, and I think that's parlayed into the city of Columbia, having a lot of good basketball teams. And it takes me back to, the late 80s, the early 90s. We consider that the golden era of high school basketball. I was fortunate to be a part of that era, and the excitement was constant. The crowds were always big, so much parity. You now see that with local high school basketball right now. There's a buzz in the city that hasn't been here in a long, long time.
No doubt about it. Of course, you're talking about the buzz, and I like when you go back to those days, the late 80s, the early 90s, when so many great players and basketball teams were in the middle. Then it was like a drought. Nobody thought about high school basketball. There was no players. The teams were down. In your opinion, why has it come back up? It's on the rise. It's because now we got coaches like Frank Martin are in high school gyms. They're hiring better coaches. What's your thoughts on that?
I do think there's a direct correlation when you talk about where basketball is right now and where the level of interest is when it comes to college basketball in the state of South Carolina. Frank Martin is a national brand. Clemson under Oliver Purnell and now under Brad Brownell, they've had some success. There's a direct correlation, and again, because the individual players that we've had, they've generated so much attention. They've brought so many coaches. They've brought so much attention to the city of Columbia. I think I think it put pressure not only on the local athletic directors, but we are hiring better coaches. There was a time, and shamefully I say this, there was a time I think a lot of our head basketball coaches were football coaches, and they were trying to satisfy a stipend. And as a basketball guy, as a basketball purist, that wasn't something I was happy with. Now you're seeing so many former basketball players, JoJo English, Aaron Lucas, Terry Perry Dozier, Larry Davis. Those guys are now in high school coaching. There's a difference because you have guys that played the game, guys that share passion for the game, guys that love the game, and they've been able to share that love and pass that love and passion on to the younger guys. And thus, that's why we're seeing a much, much better product on the floor. We're seeing and feeling the buzz in the city, something we haven't felt in a long, long time. And I, for one, I am excited.
Yeah, you got to be excited. And you're right. Back in the day, the football coaches were the ADs, the basketball coaches. They did both. And you weren't getting the same amount of teaching because most of the teaching went on the football field because that's where everybody really put all their effort in. But now when you threw out those names and all those guys you mentioned were former Gamecock basketball players that are now head coaches in the state of South Carolina, some here in the Midlands, and I do agree. I think that's why it's much better. But it is hyped up, and I'm glad it's hyped up. And I know for you, being a lifer, you're glad to finally see it. But I'm going to take offense to, I mean, because we're football players, I mean, we can't coach bad. I mean, maybe we're not the best basketball coaches, but we could coach. But I understand exactly.
How do you feel about me coaching the football team?
Well, you said you would play wide receiver, so
yes.
I mean, you could coach the receivers, right? We do have guys that held kicks in college that are now offensive coordinators, so we got all kind of. So it's possible. I'm just saying. All right, when we come back, our game to watch this week is a good one, and it's going to feature two of the best players right here in the Midlands. We'll tell you about that after this time out. All right, welcome back to Overtime. Corey Miller alongside Kerry Rich. It is now time to feature our game to watch, and it's going to happen at the ChickfilA Classic at Richland Northeast High School. Of course, the captain, Kerry Rich, is on the board of this tournament. Of course, you can see right there on the full screen. Dreer versus Hammond, two of the best players in our city, going to go at it head-to-head. That's on Friday, December the 19th at 8:30 p.m. at RNE High School. Of course, Tevin Mack and 7th Woods will go at it head-to-head. Two guys that are really, really good. Of course, Tevin Mack is going to VCU, already signed. That's where he'll end up in college. 7th Woods is a 2016 kid, so his destination is to be determined. So let's look at this matchup. I've seen Dreer. I've seen Hammond, who, by the way, is a skeezer school. I've seen him play Spring Valley. We're going to talk about that later on. I'm impressed with what I saw. Of course, 7th Wood, everybody knows about him, captain. Everybody knows he's a good player. But this Hammond team have come out of nowhere. I remember a couple of years ago, they were kind of a laughing stock. But when I saw them against Spring Valley, they're pretty good.
They are pretty good. And folks around the basketball world here in the city always knew they had talent. And you mentioned skeezer. Right. I'd venture to say that Hammond is probably the only skeezer team in this area with 3 Division I prospects in Chavez Goodwin, Xavier McDaniel, and of course 7th Woods. This is on a skeezer basketball team, and you got 3 Division I prospects. Certainly, I'd venture to say that maybe they played their best game against Spring Valley because of the hype.
Right.
As good as Hammond, yeah, they were good, but as good as they are, I don't think they're 30 points better than Spring Valley. I think if they play again, no way do they win by 30 points. But to their credit, they played well. They played together. They did the things necessary to be successful in that game. And as a fan, as a spectator, you enjoyed watching that basketball team play, share the basketball, and just play the right way.
Well, when you look at this matchup now, you got Dreer, of course, we'll get into P.J. Dozier 7th matchup in a minute. But now you're taking on a guy and Tevin Mack. South Carolina really wanted this guy. Frank Martin liked Tevin Mack. He's a kid I saw last year. I think he's gotten better. We know he can dribble and drive. It seems like his outside shot is better. But when you look at this matchup, these two teams, break it down for me. I mean, who you like in this game and how's it going to work out?
Well, the one thing about Tevin Mack is right now, I think he and Frank Martin would have coexisted. They would have coexisted perfectly because he's playing like an angry man.
Right.
In Tevin Mack's mind, he's undervalued, he's underrated, and he doesn't receive the attention that he feels like he deserves. He's gotten 47, he's gotten 40, he's gotten 31. At this point of the season, he's a scoring machine. He knows how to get buckets, and he plays that way every single night. And the really good thing about Tevin Mack and that Dreer basketball team, they understand who their go-to guy is. They understand where their bread is buttered. It's with Tevin Mack getting buckets. It's with Tevin Mack scoring baskets. But it's going to be a really, really good matchup. And as much as we talk about Tevin Mack, as much as we talk about 7 Woods, that's not the matchup I want to see. I want to see Xavier McDaniel at 6'6" go up against Tevin Mack. For the first time this year, I think Tevin Mack is in a position where he has to go up against a 6'6", athletic, mobile, fluid defender on the perimeter. That's not to suggest Tevin Mack isn't going to be successful because he's a scoring machine. But as a spectator, as a basketball guy, I look forward to seeing that matchup. Could bother him with that athleticism that Xavier McDaniel is going to bring to the floor. Something else about Dreer that I really, really like. I think every team, regardless of the level, you need that glue guy. You need that role player. And Drill has the ultimate role player in Stiegelbauer. He's a senior over there. He does all the little things. He sacrifices his body. He sacrifices parts of his game. He's an ultimate teammate, and he's the guy that you need to win games. He's my ultimate team guy in the city.
What's his name again?
Stiegelbauer. I think he's the son of the principal over there.
Oh, okay. I saw him play last year.
You saw him play?
Yeah, he's that Dennis Rodman type, that Bill Laimbeer kind of guy.
A little edgy.
Trashy, edgy. He'll get a hard foul. I mean, he'll give a hard foul.
Yeah, likes to play after the whistle every now and again.
Yeah, I was getting ready to give him my old radio. Never heard of him, but when you said the principal's son, okay, I've heard of you, sir. So, good player. But when you look at, I like the matchup you mentioned because I'm going to call him X-Man Jr., Xavier McDaniel, son of the former NBA great Xavier McDaniel. This kid impressed me. I knew PJ, I knew Simmons were great players.
Right.
I did not know that Xavier McDaniel had really taken his game to the next level. To me, he was the MVP in that ball game because he was knocking down outside shots. He was rebounding the basketball. He was on the floor. He was getting a little edgy, a little scrappy. Yeah. It's something that his dad was about. Right. I saw a little bit of his dad come out in this basketball game against Spring Valley.
The perimeter shot, the jump shot you talked about, that's what's taking him to the next level. A lot of schools are not on him just yet. Schools are still curious to see how his game will transition to the next level. But he has a chance Friday night. He has a chance going up against an ultimate scoring machine in Tevin Mack. If he's able to defend, he's able to knock down some perimeter jump shots because at 6'6", athletic, fluid, mobile, and you're able to knock that jump shot down, you become a commodity quick, especially with the tenacity and the effort that he plays with every single night. Big weekend for Xavier McDaniel when it comes to college coaches.
No doubt about it. All right, good stuff there. Good breakdown. I like that guy's name. He threw the never heard of player of the year. All right, when we come back, we got more breakdown from high school basketball. That's coming up. You don't want to miss it after this timeout. All right, welcome back to Overtime. Of course, Friday night, the showdown we just told you about, our game to watch, going to be a great game. The ChickfilA Classic at Richland Northeast High School, always a great time. We see a lot of big-time Division I coaches show up. A lot of Division I players are there. And captain, of course, there are a lot of teams here that's involved in this ball game in the Midlands. So you can see where that W.J. Keenan High School is going to be there. Hammond we talked about, or Richland, Dreer, and Spring Valley that's going to participate in this tournament. Talk about it. You're on the board, and of course, you're involved in what goes on, what teams come. Talk about how you guys go about putting this thing together.
Well, it's all about talent first and foremost. As much as Gary Farmer, who's the director, as much as he wants to invite the national teams, teams with nationally ranked players, you also want the local teams to benefit from the attention, benefit from the presence of the coaches, and to see some of the local teams that are now part of it, especially with some of the kids that have generated a really good name, a lot of attention for themselves. I think it says a whole lot about the job Gary Farmer has done. I think last year the Chick-fil-A was ranked as the #2 ranked Christmas tournament in the country.
Wow.
And that's huge. That's huge. And Gary Farmer's done a terrific job of heading that tournament for a long, long time.
Well, I've seen Coach K up in there. Of course, you get the Frank Martins in a place like this. I've seen, Roy Williams coming in this building. I mean, this attracts big-time coaches. Now, so this is a great opportunity when you're talking about a guy like Xavier McDaniel, a guy that kind of, got talent on the rise, flying under the radar right now. This could be huge for a player like that that's trying to really make himself noticeable and maybe getting that big-time offer.
Huge. The who's who of college basketball when you talk about some of the coaches that are going to be present. And I had an opportunity to speak to one of the teams that's going to be participating from London. They had to use one of the local gyms to practice today. They got in town early and wanted to use one of the gyms. And, this is their first time playing and participating in the Chick-fil-A. And I had an opportunity to just share with them the experience and the big stage, the platform, and just taking advantage of the experience that they're getting ready to be a part of when it comes to the coaches and just the big game atmosphere, the big stage, going up against the big players. And if you're hoping to play beyond high school, this is when you got to do it. You got to do it when the lights are shining bright. You got to do it when that stage is big. And I think a lot of kids understand the magnitude of this tournament, and that's why the turnout has been what it is, because these guys are showing up and playing a high level of basketball.
You can see that Wando High School down from the Charleston area, Mount Pleasant, Mullins High School, Green Forest Christian out of Decatur, Georgia, Westtown School from Westchester, Pennsylvania. You just mentioned a team from London. I mean, they're coming from everywhere right here in the city of Columbia. This is an opportunity for you to go out and really witness some really good high school basketball. Friday, Saturday, they will not play on Sunday, and then Monday and Tuesday, they'll get things wrapped up. But we're going to be there. We're going to have a strong presence there at the ChickfilA Classic. I think it's great. Now, if I want you to talk about this quick matchup because we talked about Tevin Mack, and we said that's coming on Friday night. But I've already witnessed 7th Woods and P.J. Dozier. I witnessed that. 37 for Hammond for 7th Woods, 31 for P.J. Dozier. And a lot of folks are chatting now.
Yes.
A lot of folks are chatting now. I mean, you break it down. I kind of know the difference. But for the people out there, we're not using stats to judge who's better, right?
No, and you shouldn't.
Right.
There's been a lot of chitter-chatter the last week when it comes to making a determination of who's better. And the only thing that these two guys share in common, and you know what? We must throw Tevin Mack in the mix.
Right.
You can't leave him out.
Right.
With what he's done the last couple of weeks, he's a part of this mix. But naturally, with the game this past week, P.J. Dozier and 7 Woods, those guys were the story. And the only thing that those guys share in common is the mere fact that they're superstars.
Right.
And they've done a terrific job of representing the city of Columbia, representing the state of South Carolina, and bringing a lot of basketball attention to the Columbia area. They've made Columbia a destination for college coaches. After that, and I know a lot of people are going to be disappointed to hear this, there's no basis for comparison. You're talking about two totally different basketball players. You're talking about 7 Woods, who's an athletic freak. One head basketball coach in the SEC said he has that one thing that you can't teach. He offers that wow moment. And his ability to make a complicated play into a normal play is what causes that wow moment. That's who he is. In the number of years that I've been watching basketball in this city, he's the best athlete I've ever seen come through here. I've never seen anybody. Jordan Roper was close, who's now at Clemson, former Irma basketball player. But 7 Woods and what he's able to do with his athleticism, unbelievable. Fast forward to P.J. P.J. Dozier is a 6'7", multi-dimensional skill set basketball player, meaning he can play 3 positions. One head ACC coach said to me, when you recruit and sign a guy like P.J. Dozier, ultimately you get 3 players, 1, 2, and 3, and you add his IQ. So you're talking about 2 totally different players. I've heard the chitter-chatter, I've heard the talk, I've heard the comparisons, but there is no comparison because you're talking about 2 totally different players. They're both great at what they do, and nobody can do anything better than what those guys specialize in.
Well, you heard it from the captain, and that's well said. I agree. A 6'6" guy that can do 3 things, different positions, versus an athletic guy, totally different, but both going to be very successful at the next level. When we come back, it's that time. We're going to release our top 5 teams in the business. Will we be on the same page? Probably not. Don't want to miss that. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to Overtime. This is the part of the show that I really love. It's close and it's dear to my heart because now we get to rank the teams right here in the middle. There are a lot of good ones. It is now time for the pastor and the captain's top 5 teams. I'm going to start first. You know why? Because I'm going to get it right. Number 1, the team that I saw last weekend. If you can go to Spring Valley and beat a P.J. Dozier team that's got a lot of good other athletes on it and win by almost 30 points, you got to be number 1 in my pick. Number 2, Spring Valley. You didn't drop far, but you got to climb back up. I need to see something out of you. I know P.J.'s getting back into shape. You know, he sat out for a little bit. They got some injuries, but I think they're going to bounce back. He just had a bad night. Number 3, Tevin Mack. Dreer, I like him, and I like that never heard of him player that you told me about that gets rebounds and falls on the floor and commit fouls. I think they're a good team, but they sit at number 3. Number 4, Devontae Shuler. That guy, nobody's talking about him, the 6'2" guard that I've seen play. The sophomore, going to be very nice. And number 5, I had a hard time at this one, but I had to go to my my Twitter and my phone and see that they found out, and I found out that they won the state championship last year in 3. I did not know that. And just because of that, you land at number 5, the Falcons of AC Florida. That is the Pastor's top 5. Captain, is yours different?
It is different. And wonder, how did you find out about AC Florida winning the state title last year?
I got some friends in the business, as you always say. I got a lot of friends out here in the high school business.
Would that friend happen to be sitting next to you?
Maybe.
Well, you know what? When I was selecting my top 5, I had to leave out a few teams that are knocking on the door. White Knoll only lost 1 game. They've been really, really good, led by Marius Logan. Zach Norris at Keenan, one of my best friends.
That's
it was so hard leaving
buddy.
Zach Norris out of the top 5.
Wow.
But I'm going with Irmo at number 5 because of Devontae Shuler and Tim Whipple.
That's your
Tradition,
buddy, too.
That's my buddy,
You just had a picture on Twitter with him, and you got him at 5. I'm going to call him, but go ahead.
Spring Valley, number 4. That's a big drop from where you had him. I initially had Spring Valley at number 1. But I've watched them play about 2 or 3 different times. Very disappointing with the way they've played, not sharing the basketball, not playing the right way.
That is a problem over there.
Some chemistry issues over there that need to be fixed right away. They need to find out and understand who their go-to guy is. That's P.J. Doge. Until they get that fixed, they're going to continue to struggle. AC Florida returned 4 out of their top 5 starters that won the state title last year. I like AC Florida. J.B. Murray, Boyles, and Carl.
Right, you never heard of him, but move on.
Carl Gamble. Hammond, as good as Hammond was the other night, I don't think Hammond is 30 points better than Spring Valley.
No, I agree.
They got 3 Division I prospects on that basketball team. They're going to make some noise. I just wanted to go with Drill because of one person and one person only. Tevin Mack is playing like a madman. He's angry, and he probably heard our conversation tonight about the matchup with Xavier McDaniel, and I can guarantee you that's going to be his motivation for tomorrow. That's why I'm going with Drill, because they play hard, and Tevin Mack is a man on a mission right now.
All right, he's fired up about Tevin Mack and Drill. Me, not so much. Matter of fact, I'm taking Hammond to beat them on Friday night, so we'll see what happens next week in the overtime. For the captain, I'm Corey Miller. For Vincenzo, the producer in the back, we'll see you guys on next week.